On the eve of presidential elections in Armenia in 2012, all major political parties of the opposition wing had unexpectedly taken their candidates off and refused to run for voting campaign. This was a milestone in political life of modern Armenia. The emptiness was quickly filled with the efforts and commitment of human rights groups and environmental movement, which helped to shape the new civil society and took responsibility for the country's democratic development. One of the first clashes between the society and oligarchic dictatorship of the ruling regime took place at the so-called Mashtots Square, a public space in the center of Armenian capital that a couple of corrupt businessmen decided to turn into the private flea market. After months of resistance, when a handful of young activists were blocking the construction site, a few dozens of concerned and responsible citizens wore the workers' yellow helmets to dismantle the ugly illegal constructions. The regime responded with brutal force, using special riot police in red berets. That's how and when the conflict first got the colors: yellow of the civil society versus red of the oligarchic rulers. However, the people's solidarity prevailed. The illegal project was rejected and the park remained public property. This first success of the civil society encouraged the people, and pretty soon the inhabitants of another city quarter came together to resist the construction of 14-store building in between of 3 old 5-store houses. The case of 5 Komitas Avenue is another example of authorities' neglect the human rights and needs, let alone the violence of essential security rules, with building constructed just a foot away from the next building's wall. Red color has quite a grim connotation in Armenia. Red were the heads of Turkic tribes, occupying the region in 11th century as Kizilbash or Redhead tribes. Red were the fez of the Ottoman rulers who organized the genocide and deportation of 1.5 million Armenians in the beginning of 20th century. Red was the color of Soviet army that invaded the first independent republic of Armenia. Now the former KGB and Communist Party members, who still hold the power in the country, inherited the red color of their former flags and kept it as a symbol of oppression and brutality. Civil activists made huge efforts to make their voice heard. They were blocking the streets and prevented the heavy trucks from entering the construction area. Red-hat police troops were mobilized to oppress the public protest, and dozens of activists were arrested these days. However, their struggle frightened the authorities and illegal construction was frozen for an uncertain time period. Another conflict of public interests with the greed and incompetence of oligarchs has occurred around the historical building of the Yerevan covered market. For centuries, a symbol of the city life, free trade and human relations, In mid of 20th century, the Yerevan Central Market was located in building later recognized a unique architectural heritage. However, a couple of years ago, the market was privatized by the influential parliament member who holds a monopoly on importing vital food from abroad and who illegally disfigured the interior of the historical monument, turning it into a supermarket. The tycoon has mobilized a private army of his employees and mercenaries to confront the civil society protests. No wonder the strikebreakers wear the red caps to show their loyalty to the ruling authorities and their confrontation with the yellow caps activists. Thus, the civil conflict between the yellow and red got the color and shape of the collision between two cultures, two value systems, two civilizations existing in modern Armenia. While the yellow caps stress the national identity of the democratic movement, the roots and ties they cherish and protect, the ancient songs and dances they perform during the rallies, their red cap opponents demonstrate the brutal force and ignorance, conformism and loyalty to dictatorship and oligarchy that tease and rob the country and the nation. The struggle is going on. The Reds are attacking with the help of police and special services. The Yellows defend the heritage and dignity, the past and the future of Armenia.